little bit of time to do something that'll make your lives easier? You guys don't even care the consequences, do you? Like your answer is yes. All right. So what I'm going to do is show you how to create some user-defined functions on your ti89. So go ahead and take out your calculator. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to program our calculator to solve slope problems for us and to solve writing equations of a line for us. That way you don't have to go through the process that we just talked about. You simply need to know how to enter it on your calculators. Okay? So let's start with slope. Okay? So if you want to calculate slope on your ti89, you can do that by doing what's called a user-defined function. Okay? The user-defined function, so I'm going to open up my calculator here. Okay. If you go to this, make sure you have the normal set of tabs on top. If you go to tab F4 and you choose define, okay, what that does is it's going to allow you to create your own function, create your own little program on your calculator. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to give it a name. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to call this first function slope. And you need to give it a name that's not going to interfere with something that's already on your ti89. So you can't say, oops, x, or you can't say y. Okay, but you can use a word. So I'm just going to alpha lock. So I'm going to tap this white alpha key twice, and I'm going to type the word slope. So just use the white keys, S-L-O-P-E, and then deselect the alpha key. Okay, once you have the name of your function, what you're then going to do in parentheses is you're going to identify the inputs. Okay, so when you're going to calculate your slope, what is it that you need? What coordinates or what pieces of information? x1, x2, y1, y2, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to identify or tell the calculator that we want those as our inputs. Okay, now, normally we would say x1 and y1, right, and x2 and y2. The calculator, though, already has the functions are identified as y1s and y2, so it's not going to know. It's going to be confused if we use those. So what we're going to use instead of these is we're going to use h's and k's. Okay, so h1, k1, h2, k2. Okay, so what we're going to do is tell the calculator the order that we're going to input this. And when we input it, it's going to be just a list. So it's not going to be ordered pair. You're not going to set it up with parentheses. You're just going to write a list of h1 followed by k1. We're just going to put it in order. h1, k1, h2, k2. And now it doesn't have to be in the order that it's going to calculate because we're going to tell it how we want it to calculate. This is just the order that you're going to enter it. Okay, so this is the one thing that you have to remember on your own. Okay, that when you enter a calculation for slope, it's going to be x coordinate, y coordinate, x coordinate, y coordinate. It's just going to be in that order. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we're now going to tell it the calculation that we want. Okay, so the final step here is we want to tell it how we want these inputs to be handled to calculate our slope. Well, our slope is the difference of the y's, okay, which are now k values, right? So we're going to take k1 minus k2, and we're going to divide that by the difference of the corresponding x's, which are in terms of h's. So h1 minus h2. Okay, so if we enter this on our calculator, okay, I'm going to move my calculator over here for now. So if I say that I want the slope in parentheses, I put my inputs. Okay, so my inputs were h1, comma, k1, followed by h2, comma, k2. Okay, so I input, those are the order of my inputs, and then I'm going to set that equal to my calculation. And so the calculation is I'm going to take the difference of my k's, k1 minus k2, and I'm going to divide by the difference of my corresponding x's, which are h1 minus h2. Once I finish this, I'm going to hit the enter key, and it should display the word done. Once I see done, I now have this user-defined function that I call slope. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. And so if I go to this problem right here, okay, where I calculated my slope through this process, what I can now do is I can either type the word slope, so I could either alpha lock it and just type SLOPE, or I can go to where all of these user-defined functions are going to be located, and they're going to be located right here in this where it says var link, the blue subtraction key. So if you hit second subtract, and then you either scroll down, or the easiest way to jump to something is to tap the key corresponding to that letter. So slope starts with an S. So if I tap the key with the S on it, it goes to the first function that I've labeled with the letter S. And so I can see right there slope. I hit enter, and that brings that function into my display. And then I enter my inputs the way that I told the calculator I wanted it to be entered. And so I had entered it as H1K1. So I'm just going to list my X and then Y coordinates. So I'm going to write this as 0, comma, negative 11, comma, negative 2, comma, 14. Right? So again, it's just a list. You're not putting it as individual ordered pair. It's just one single list. And once I hit enter, it'll perform the calculation there, and it'll show me my slope. Okay, so you can see here it confirms what we did by hand, negative 25/2.